and I bid you welcome. I want to see those online right now. If you're online, can you give me a thumbs up or type in the chat room, in the comment section? Let me know those that are online right now. All right, it's 7 o'clock from my Yes, I'm trying to get those. Can you hear me? Yes, someone is saying no audio. Can you hear me? Hussein Mohammed, can you hear me? Tabitha, I can see you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's webinar. I'd like to confirm if my audio is perfect. So please confirm if you can hear me loud and clear. Good evening from wherever you're joining. I am in Lagos, Nigeria. Where are you? So you can say hello if you can hear me clearly and tell me where you're joining from anywhere in the world. Okay, thank you so much for that feedback, Tabitha Wills. Thank you. Now it's saying can hear me. Perfect. Welcome to tonight's webinar. And I'm pretty sure those who will join later will get a bit of the goodies that we might have shared at the beginning. Tonight is straight to business. But I'll start by introducing myself for those of you who may not know me. My beautiful name is Oludolapo Adewale Remi. I like to introduce myself that way because I like to connect people with my roots. That's why I use the tonal marks to introduce myself. And I say, you're free to call me Remi. What are we doing today? We're talking about how to start your speech, how to start your presentation, how to make sure you get people's attention right from the beginning. And I'm going to start with this quote. I have been to the greatest mountain peaks in the world. I have mounted the pedestal on which historic monuments were crafted. Not only that, I have seen works of cerebral minds. How, you ask me? All because I read books and I put that quote together. It's actually my quote. I put that quote together when I was thinking about the power inherent in reading books, the power inherent in reading stuff. Earlier today, I was having a chat with one of my children, and we were talking about encyclopedia, and I remembered a particular time in my life, precisely secondary school, where anytime during the break, I would just go to the library. Guess what I was going there to do? Just to read encyclopedias. I would just go there to just read what is. I'll read different things. I didn't know I was setting myself up for success later by knowing a bit about so many things. That was what I was doing, learning and reading during my free time. It wasn't my proper classwork, but I was doing it during my free time because I saw the essence of making every time count. So what did I just do in that introduction I did? I took you on a journey to when I was in secondary school. I told the story of my secondary school days to link to the quote I mentioned earlier. This is an example of starting a speech, starting a presentation. If you cast your mind back to the first 2 minutes of me interacting with you, I've told you my name, I've told you a quote, and I've told you a story. Those are ways you can use to start your speech. So I did an example live and direct with you. So once again, welcome to class. Welcome to the webinar today. I'm going to teach for a while and then ask you to tell you to drop your questions as well in the YouTube comment section, and I'll gladly answer them within the time that we have. And if you have further questions, you can always reach me via my DM. First things first, if you're not subscribed to this channel, let me give you the African mother style. What are you waiting for? Subscribe right now. I want to see you hit the subscribe button right now. And if you know your friend will benefit from this training, oh, don't be a solo ride person. Invite your friends and let them log on and watch tonight's webinar. So without further ado, let's dive in. What do we mean by starting your speech very strong? What do we mean by closing it even stronger? It's the technical term people use is primacy and recency. Primacy and recency, which means you're starting strong and finishing even stronger. Before I go on, I hope you have a journal. I hope you have a note. You're taking note of this. The only exception is if you're driving right now. So I'll permit you not to write, but make sure that once you get to a place where you can write something, do. Why do I encourage people to write when they're watching a webinar? It helps you to remember more things you put down in your own writing or typing if you are digital. You remember some key points even much more. So do that for yourself. So we're talking about starting strong and finishing even stronger. How do you do that? You do that through relevant and attention-grabbing statements. The very first things you say matter a lot. They matter. We have 30 to 60 seconds to grab our audience's attention. You can use different ways, and I'm going to show you a couple of ways tonight. And next week, when you go to work and you're making a presentation, it will look like you've been baptized with something. Something that will have changed in the way you present, in the way you start your speech. And people will be like, what happened to you? You say, the weekend was the difference. Okay, so you can use statistics, you can use facts to garnish your statement, to garnish your opening lines. And you can end with all these things I mentioned as well. So it's not a straight-jacketed thing. You can say, oh, this is the only way I'm starting my speech, and this is the only way I'm going to close my presentation. No, you can vary it. You can be fluid. One of the hallmarks of a good public speaker is you are flexible. You are not one-way traffic. As it was in the beginning, it's now and ever shall be. That's not for you. You need to be fluid. You're not static. So you can do your opening and closing in different ways. As a trainer myself, if I'm training you with a particular line, a particular training module, I wouldn't train this batch the same way I would train that batch, because I will want to bring newness into every training session that I have. Okay, so I'll be showing you some of the things that I put together on my slide that will help you understand even the topic for today much more. So let me go to sharing my slide. I'm bringing my slide up right now. Okay, fantastic. The slides are up. I believe we can see our slide. I'm trying to confirm via my second device. Okay, so we talked about the technical term for opening a speech or a presentation, and I said it's primacy. Primacy, the information you present first. People tend to store something more when they hear the first few things that you say. The information you store at that time is largely said to be in the long-term memory because the audience are eager to hear from you. You carry, especially if you're going for a physical presentation, people are already charmed by your aura as you're walking to the stage. They're already looking at you that, oh, what's this person going to say? If you're even lucky and they have read your profile and people have heard lofty things about you and they are eager to hear from you, the first few sentences you make would resonate with them and it will be stored in their long-term memory. And if it's a bad thing you said, it will equally be stored, and you don't want that for your audience. And talking about profile, allow me to digress right now. I hope as a speaker, as an intentional speaker, you have your profile ready. It could be a one-pager that talks about you, what you've done, your academic background, what you're doing, a one-pager about you. If you don't have that, consider that as your first classwork today. Go do your profile. Short thing about you that could be read or presented at an event where you're speaking. So let's go back to our slide. The primacy effect, the information that you deliver first and is stored in the long-term memory of your audience. Recency is the last few items that you present before you leave the stage, before you leave the podium, before you leave the lectern. They are still fresh in the memory of your audience. And your audience can easily recall that after your presentation. They're still ruminating after it. They're still ruminating on it, rather. They're still thinking about it even after you've gone. That is the recency effect. You don't want to leave the stage and everything that you've said is gone, dissipating, subliming. No, you want to leave that mark on your audience. They're still saying, either they're still laughing at what you said, or they're saying, and thinking about it. And it's eliciting questions afterwards. That is the recency effect. That's the effect you want to have on your audience. And you know that feeling where musicians are on the stage, they're giving them 5 minutes, the timer had said, oh, you're out of time. And they give you a very, very strong song, maybe their top song. And people start saying, encore, encore, which means more, give us more. They have done the recency effects. They've given you an information that will make you yearn for more. So that is the hallmark of a good public speaker, someone that wants to make sure that people yearn for more. I want more, like Oliver Twist. Okay, so let's move on. Now we're going to look at different things that we can use to start our speech. I call them speech openings. On your screen, I put a quote, a shocking fact, a story. Cast your mind back to how I started today. I started with a unique introduction about myself. I didn't just say, my name is Oludolapo Adewale. I'm here to talk about how to open your speech and how to close your speech. I'm not doing a debate. I'm not saying, ladies and gentlemen, accurate timekeeper. I'm not doing all of those. I said my name, but in a unique way. So I used that as a unique form of introduction. Next, I gave you a quote that talked about the next thing I wanted to do, which was to tell you a story of something that happened earlier today. And I made sure that the story could resonate with a couple of people that could be listening to me, because I know some of my audience went to secondary school. I mentioned that. I mentioned the library. I colored my story. I mentioned the library. I mentioned encyclopedia. You might have come across it at one time in your life. So I was mentioning a bit of specific detail in my story. Those were my speech openings. So you can see that you can merge different things together in your speech openings just to have that primacy effect. So a quote, the one I have on my screen says, life is short, wear your party pants. So someone is starting his or her speech with that quote by Loretta LaRoche. You can use a very, very interesting quote that would set the tone for what you want to present. You can start with a shocking fact that says, sadly, in the next 18 minutes, when I do our chart, 4 Americans that are alive will be dead from the food that they eat. Chai. If I'm in the audience, I'm like, oh, that's like a shocking fact. You can use that to set the tone for your presentation. Maybe you really want to call people's attention to something that they are not doing and action needs to be taken. So look for a very shocking fact that will get them at the edge of their seat and say, please tell us more. We want to know more. That is the essence. You can start with a story or anecdote. Start with a story. Just yesterday, I heard. Just yesterday, I saw. When I was a little child, my teacher used to tell me, I once saw a boy. Different ways to start a story. It could be a recent story. It could be a story of when you were little. It could be another person's story. A story is a story. And we all love good stories. We like good stories. Let me tell you, some days ago, I was caught up in the traffic that happened in Lagos, Nigeria. And I saw something very, very weird on this. Will I say weird? Sometimes it happens in Lagos. As I was stuck in the traffic, a particular vehicle crossed another one, and the man was so livid. The man was, oh my goodness, I want you not to cross me, and I'm going to show you Pepe Atarodo. I'm adding that, Pepe Atarodo and Bauer. Guess what? The guy came down from his vehicle, brought a small pancere and wanted to actually flog the driver of the other car. I was on my own steering. I said, what? This is going to happen right here in Lagos. Someone will flog another man. And people, guess what? People turn their attention, people in different public buses turn their attention to watch that drama. Everyone wanted to know whether the man will actually fulfill his threat of beating that person. Until I moved away, of course, I had to face what I was on the road for. But you know, people always are tuned to stories. They're tuned to drama. They want to know what will happen next. And that's what I'm experiencing by telling you that story. You want to know whether the man fulfilled this threat by beating that person. I couldn't see the end because I had to move away. I'm just saying that to tell you that people love stories, and I use the story as well to illustrate that. I hope you're getting something so far. I'm a teacher, so I'm going to pause right now and make you type in the comment section. What have you gained so far? Because we're not here to just tell you theories. No, I want action points that after tonight's webinar, you say, yes, my time wasn't wasted here. I gained something. So your first official classwork right now is to tell me what you've gained so far. And you can add what you start doing better from now on. So let's get the classwork going in this 1 minute. 1 minute. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Oh, no, it's not for children. Someone is asking, it's not for children, it's for adults. It's for adults. Okay, maybe you saw it on the children's platform. It was just to hold the attention of the parents. No, it's for adults, please. So we're doing a classwork right now. In 1 minute, tell me what you've gained so far and what you'll be doing. Let's do that. I'm waiting to see your comments. Let's go, let's go. Okay. Yes, in case you're just joining us, welcome to tonight's webinar. The topic is how to open and close your speech or presentation. That's what we're doing tonight. And at this moment, I'm asking participants to tell me what they've gained so far tonight. I want to know if you're with me, if you're following. Yes, cool. Because action points are really a thing for me. I want to know whether you're gaining something from tonight. Good. I'm getting responses right now. Tabitha says, to start my presentation with a story. Beautiful. Fantastic. Starting with a story works. It works. People love a great story. Yes, someone is asking, must your story be related to your presentation topic? Most of the time, it should be. Most of the time, it should be. The other exceptions are if your story is about how you are coming to the event or when you received the invitation for that event, or something that happened on the way to that event, then it's still tied to you speaking. It might not be tied to your topic in itself, but it's tied to the preparation for that presentation. For instance, let me give you an example. I want to talk about how to open and close my speech. Let's say today I wasn't feeling so fine. Let's say I wasn't feeling so fine. But I still struggled to come to class, to show up. I can start with, sometimes you had planned to do something, but your body decides to act funny. Today, I planned to do my webinar. I got my things all right, but I had fever. But I told myself, I've promised people I'm going to have this webinar tonight. I've done a lot of promotions about it. I must just trudge on. I must forge ahead. I took some medications, rested, and here I am with this webinar. So welcome everyone to this webinar, something like that. What did I do? I used my situation to just kickstart the presentation. It's not exactly linked to what I want to talk about, but I was just using my current reality to explain. So you don't need to tell a story exactly linked to your presentation, but your story must still make sense and it must find expression in what you want to do. Beautiful question. Thank you so much. Ibito says, a good recency will make your listener yearn for more. Good. I'm glad you got that. I'm glad you got that. All right, so we can continue to drop what we've gained so far in the webinar. I would love to hear from you. Now, let's go to other speech openings. So far, we've talked about a quote, we've talked about a shocking fact, we've talked about a story. Now, another one that I like, but you have to be careful when to use it. It's a controversial statement. Imagine you have a mixed audience and you say, I've come to realize that men are better than women. Men will say, thank you. Thank you for affirming that we are the head. And women will say, no, girl power. Women, what a man can do, a woman can do better. So you have a mixed audience, you have a divided audience when you say that controversial statement. But why I say you should be careful when you use controversial statements is you need to douse the tension almost immediately. You're using the controversial statement to grab people's attention, to let people know that they should listen to you. You've got something to say. So you can use the controversial statement to start off your presentation because you're taking the people on a journey to a particular destination. You might want to tell people really that no gender is actually the best, that everyone brings something to the table, but you're starting with that controversial statement to first get both genders' attention. So you can use a controversial statement. Another way to start your speech or to even end your speech, this one works for both ending and opening, is a statement of facts. A statement of fact. According to the United Nations, according to the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, according to the federal government of Nigeria, you are stating something that has been thoroughly researched. That's a statement of fact. You are quoting a source, a credible source. It could be a book, it could be a research document, it could be something in public domain. That is a statement of fact. It shows you that, it shows your audience that you've gone through a bit of research, you've taken time to look at what you want to say. You're not just coming there to say head knowledge, but you've actually taken time to look at a couple of statements to back up your claim. It shows you as being cerebral. Another way to start and even end your speech is a bold statement. A bold statement. For instance, what I will teach you in 1 hour today is a combination of what I used 6 years to learn. If someone starts the presentation with that and says, what I will teach you in 1 hour today is what I've learned for my whole life. If it's like a paid course, if you're here and you're an online course creator and you set up a course and you say, welcome, do you know that everything I will teach you here for a token is what I paid 1 million naira for? And you're going to learn it just under 3 hours for 50,000 naira. Are you not lucky? And people will start feeling that, oh gosh, we're so lucky. This is a bold statement coming from this person, so confident. The person is using that bold statement to grab your attention, to make you feel that, yes, you're really paying premium for this training. This person learned it with a huge amount of money, but the person is willing to dovetail it to that amount for us. And some people would say, what you will hear today will change your life positively. I've heard this from pastors before, that they will say, what you're going to hear today, I bet you it's going to change your life positively. So pay attention. For the next 30 minutes, as I'll be preaching, you're going to learn something that will change your life positively. They use those bold statements very well. So you might want to start using that as well. Now, let's go to another set. You can start with a question. Question. Or the question could be a question that you want responses, or a question that you don't even want responses at all. You don't want people to answer you. It could be a question that you already have an answer for, rhetorical question. That's what we call it, rhetorical. You can ask a question like, how many people have traveled outside Nigeria before? Depending on, the question should be linked to what you want to present really. You can ask a question about how many people can drive here. Maybe you want to talk about safety on the road, and you link your question to that. So question that you want people to answer, maybe by show of hands, maybe by talking, maybe by you answering that question. That is another way to start a speech. Another way to start a speech is the census way. You're dividing your class by numbers. You can segment them based on their age range, their profession. You can say, how many people are Gen Zs here? How many people are millennials here? I want millennials to be here. I want Gen Zs here. And are there generation alphas here, the little ones? Maybe that day you want to talk about the different ways different generations think, and you want them to be seated according to their generation. So that is your starter. That is how you're starting your speech. So you can use different things to segment your audience. We call it the census way. You're polling your audience. Another way is the singing. You're singing, or you are doing something dramatic. You can use a poem, you can sing, or you can act drama. The song or poem can be in a native language to connect with your audience. Imagine going to, maybe you're from the southern part of Nigeria, and you're going to the northern part of Nigeria, and you have done a research about how they greet in that place, or a popular song in that place. And guess what? You learned the song and you just start singing it. That is your speech opening. And it's a way to just connect with your audience. Your audience will say, oh, wow, this person knows the song. Even though the person is not from this part, you have warmed your way into the heart of the audience by doing that. So you can get creative, you can dance, you can sing, you can act drama, or you can say a few lines that are poetic. Another way to start your speech is setting or building advantage or expectation, telling them that they're going to gain if they listen carefully. You can say, by the end of this meeting, I'm sure you would have learned A, B, C. You're building the expectation. You're telling them that they need to listen to the end because they are set to gain this or that. So that's an example of speech opening, building expectation, telling them advantage that is inherent in what they're about to listen to. Another one that I like, and I was still telling, I went for a training last week, and I had 5 groups during the group discussion. So I had 5 groups, and each group had a presentation. So when it got to group 4 started saying, according to what my other, I think yes, group 4 was referring to group 3, and it caused laughter in the audience. And they were like, you're referring to group 3 all the time, group 3 all the time. And when I came out, I said, okay, that could look like a minus for them, but it's also a good thing for a public speaker to be able to do speaker linkage very well. And that was what the man was doing. It was drawing inferences from the previous speaker. That is good. As a speaker, as a presenter, you should draw links from a previous speaker. Someone that has spoken before at the event, either immediately or before you. It helps your audience to connect the dots. You don't want to just come and do a solo ride. When you link effectively from what other people have done, you can make a good reference. It helps the organizer to not have a disjointed program at the end of the day. You were called to the program for a purpose, or you were called to make that presentation at your office for a purpose. Do it well. Have a speaker linkage. Another one that I like is like a story, but you are telling the story in details. You're painting a picture. I call it painting a picture. Let me give an example that I'm going to bring up right now. I want you to see it as I read the story. So I call it painting a picture. Imagine a big explosion as you climb through 3,000 feet. Imagine a plane full of smoke. Imagine an engine going clack, 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 clack. It sounds scary. Well, I had a unique seat that day. I was sitting in 1D. That was by Rick Elias from a TED Talk event. What did the man do? He painted a picture of a plane crash, and he was talking about him being in seat 1D during a plane crash, or almost a plane crash. That was very scary to read. But what did he do? He was trying to make his audience feel the exact way he felt during the whole scenario. So that could come in handy when you want people to really understand what you went through at a particular incident. You're painting a picture, you're making it, you're adding color, you're adding the nice ingredients to what you're saying. That is what painting a picture speech opening is all about. And the last one I'll be sharing right now is icebreakers. Icebreakers. What are icebreakers? They're simply activities or games to draw your audience. You want to pull them. You want to pull them to your side. It could be call and response. It could be just applause. Give yourselves a round of applause. It could be a sit and stand activity. It could be stretch your body activity. There are lots of icebreakers, lots of icebreakers. I had an event recently, and the icebreakers I wrote in my journal, I couldn't even finish it for the event because I was just writing a lot to make sure that I was really armed with enough icebreakers, with enough things for that event. It's always good if you're an MC, if you're a presenter here, always have a list of icebreakers you can use. It will help, it will go a long way to keeping your audience engaged. Even in training programs, I use icebreakers. Last week, I used put a finger down for my audience. I used put a finger down as a starter for them. That was how I started my training session, and it warmed them up as well. Okay, so we've talked about different speech openings. We've talked about a story. We've talked about a quote. We've talked about a statement, bold statement. We've also talked about a statement of fact, a controversial statement. We've talked about a shocking fact. I've talked about a question, building expectation, singing, dancing, a poem, polling your audience. That's the census way. And I've talked about icebreakers as well. There's a video that comes to mind when you build suspense. There's another way I'll share with you now. Building suspense. You're telling a part of the story at the beginning, but you don't land on it totally. From that story you tell at the beginning, you segue into your presentation. I just used one of my favorite words now, segue. S-E-G-U-E. Let me type it. S-E-G-U-E. So it's called segue, not segue. Segue, which means to transition from one thing to the other. So you segue into the main body of your presentation. And then as you're ending the presentation, you now go back to the story you were telling at the beginning. The suspense you built, you now go back to that story. What you've done is the top and tail method, telling a story at the beginning, giving a bit of suspense, and you leave it there. You go to the main body of what you want to discuss, and then towards the end, you go back to that initial story and land on it. So some people are very good at doing that. You have to know what kind of presentation fits that kind of method as well. A video that comes to mind is a video by the former Vice President of Nigeria, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, and it did that at an event. It started with a story, left the story for a while, went to the main body of what he wanted to present, and then called people's attention towards the end of that presentation, and he called their attention back to the story. So that was a very wonderful one. So you can use that as well. Before you speak, ladies and gentlemen, on this webinar, ensure you always have this at the back of your mind. I tell everyone I meet to have the Boy Scout rule, always be prepared. Always be prepared to be called. Always be ready. Don't be that kind of person that says, oh, I pray I will not be called. Why? Always be prepared to be called. That way you are practicing, even if you don't have all the words to say. 1 minute here, 2 minutes there. you're practicing for the big day. So you don't need to have all the words in the world before you actually develop your speaking skill. Just start from where you are. Remember, always be prepared. I have a few more things I want to show you, but I want to quickly just tell you some of the things you can use as icebreakers in case you're wondering, oh, I've heard about icebreakers. What can I use for icebreakers? You can tell people, let me give you a couple. You can tell people to introduce themselves with an adjective. I use this, so I'm sharing with you my secret formula. You can introduce yourselves with an adjective. I use different methods. One of them is, oh, your name starts with D. You can say daring Dorothy, obedient Oludolapo, amiable Adora. So your adjective will start with the first letter of your name. You can do that, or you can just say, describe yourself with one word. You can either use a physical situation, or you can use different online apps to even get people to talk. That is an icebreaker. You can tell people to introduce themselves with their favorite food. I like this one. Or their fruit, or their pet, or their location in the world. Imagine if someone's favorite food is amala and egusi, and you say, hello, everyone, I am Amala Oludolapo. You can imagine how it will sound. It will just make some people to loosen up a bit at the beginning. If someone's favorite food is banga, 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 I'm trying to think of a name, banga Okafo. Imagine if someone's name is like that. So you would start with your favorite food and your name. Or you can use your pet name, your pet. If your pet is a monkey, it will sound weird and people say, what? It might just make the room to be warm in case it's a cold one you met that day. Then you can use put your finger down or put your hands up, depending on what you're asking. You can ask questions as well. How many people want to you slot in whatever you want to slot in that time. So icebreakers are very, very good. And like I said earlier, you can use the exercise method. Stretch. I still remember one training program I did, and I did this one. Stretch. You can tell people to stretch their body, shape, put their hands on their waist, just to make sure you're energizing the audience. So these are called energizers. In icebreakers, we have starters and we have energizers. Starters are the ones you use to start a program, a presentation, and energizers when you feel that the temperature of the hall, temperature of the audience is kind of going low. You find something that can energize them, energize the room, and you give it to them back to back. So these are some of the examples of icebreakers. I'll just tell you a few things about public speaking as we close tonight. So I want you to start dropping your questions. I'll take questions. We're supposed to end in the next 5 minutes. So I'll take questions and then we'll call it a beautiful night. So before you speak, here are public speaking essentials that I crafted that I want you to have in mind at all times. Number one, punctuality. Punctuality. I'll say it again for good measure. Punctuality. Arrive at least 30 minutes before your event starts, either online or offline. You need to be there early because things may go awry. A-W-R-Y, awry. That's the second one I'm pronouncing for you today, awry. Things may not go as you planned. So when you go early, you're able to kind of quickly check what could be going wrong and attack it. If that event is being transmitted online and you cannot even get there early, try to be listening online. With that, you'll be able to do that speaker linkage I mentioned earlier. You will not get there presenting and you'll be looking lost because you are not following the program. And another thing you should do before you speak is mind how you look. Your facial expression matters. You cannot want to speak at an event and you're all sad and frowning and all that. No, you must have a great smile. I'm not saying you should be laughing ha 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 to everyone. No, but just plant a great smile on your face. You're meeting people, pleased to meet you. Have a great handshake with them and just make sure your outlook is appealing. Then at the beginning today, I talked about having your profile. It's good to have your profile so that the MC can introduce you well. But if you don't send your profile early enough, that may not happen. There are situations where you could have sent your profile, but there could be technical issues. The profile was not read or displayed well. The MC couldn't have time to introduce you. Different things could happen, I understand. But if that happens, you are the next person to remedy that situation. How do you do that? You ensure that as you step to the stage, do your speaker introductions, you're saying things that lead to how credible you are, why you are the best person to actually take us through that topic. Why is that important? You want your audience to have a feel of who is speaking to them, that this person knows ears or onions. And like I say, onions, ata, epo. That's my own addition. So you want your audience to know that you are the best person to speak on that topic at that time. So remedy situations where your profile wasn't really read or not read as it ought to be read. Another thing you should note before you actually speak is dressing well. Dress well. When you dress well, it speaks before you speak. It speaks before you speak. So dress well. If your dress if you're imagining that you could have a wardrobe malfunction, then you might have it. So get an extra pair of clothes or extra clothes as it is. Get it so that you wouldn't be disturbed, flustered, flummoxed about a wardrobe malfunction. You don't want that. And one thing I will also tell you is to mind how you pronounce your words. This is why you need a diction course. As you're increasing your public speaking ability, ensure you also are working on your elocution. Elocution helps you greatly in your public speaking journey. You don't want to be that public speaker that mispronounces word in per second billing. That should not be you. So work on your elocution. I'm not saying you should not try to take on public speaking opportunities while working on it. Take it on, but be deliberate about working on your elocution. Sign up for elocution courses and be deliberate about it. So remember all these things before you speak. Ensure you arrive, you're a punctual person, have a great smile, send your profile to the MC early, dress well, work on your elocution, and all this will help you to be a better person that opens a speech well and closes very well. So in summary, I would say practice regularly how you want people to hear you, how you want to sound, practice regularly, develop quick thinking, be a natural. Why I say be a natural is everything around you can actually be a story, can actually be a source of story. So be natural and deliver that storytelling technique very, very well. So drop your questions and we're going to answer them in the next few minutes that we have to close. And let me see if I can bring up my remaining slides right now. While I go through your questions, you can connect with me if you're yet to do that. My Twitter handle and my Instagram, TikTok is at Oludolapo, the Diction Coach. My YouTube, where you're watching me right now, is Oludolapo Adewale. If you've not subscribed to my YouTube channel, what are you waiting for? Subscribe right now, like this video, and subscribe to my channel. I would love you to subscribe, not only just for today. You would see videos that I've done that could help you in your diction, in your public speaking journey. You need that too. You need to constantly see videos like that being recommended to you. So please subscribe and share it with your network. On LinkedIn as well, I'm Oludolapo Adewale. You can send an email to me at oludolapoadewale@gmail.com. And these are my numbers as well. Okay, so I think it's a good time to take your questions right now. But before that, I've got assignment for you. I told you that there's an action point today. Yes, you're going to write 2 different ways to begin your next presentation in your journal. So write the 2 ways to begin your next presentation in your journal. You're going to write it, and I'm going to imagine that you've done it. So that's your take home for today. Yes, so let's go to our questions right now. Can we tell, oh, I'm looking for questions. I don't know if, okay, yes, someone is sending us a question. Benson says, can we tell a story of an event that never existed? If this happens, there is a possibility of missing out. Okay, I like that. Can we tell a story of an event that never existed? Beautiful question. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. It's called fiction. Something that didn't exist. Did you read storybooks when you were younger? Sometimes when you see the back, you say fiction, and some you see non-fiction. And some stories you see partly fiction, partly true. Or they would say based on true events, which means they might exaggerate some part, and some part are actually not exactly the situation. So fiction is when you're telling a story, it could be based off a normal situation, but it's fiction. So you might tell a story that doesn't exist. One thing that just makes you an authentic presenter is to tell them that it's fiction somewhere in your speech. Like that Professor Shibaju's story a video that I referenced earlier. The story he was telling at the beginning was actually fiction. Maybe I would see if I can put the link on this particular webinar comment section. I'll do that. Then you watch it, you'll be able to understand. So he told the story so well, and it reflected the everyday life of a primary school student, but it was fiction. The story could mirror our everyday life, but it could be fiction. So he told his audience later that it was fiction, so you can do that. Well done. So I've answered this question earlier. Must your story be related to your presentation topic? Okay, do we have more questions as we wrap up today? All right, let me also tell us that my February course registration has started. I'm using this opportunity to tell us to latch onto this opportunity. Diction, Public Speaking, and Grammar course. The registration has started. It's going to kick off on February 4 to March 7. I can't wait to guide you on this 1-month journey. So start your 2026 on a beautiful note if you've not done this course at all. And if you want a refresher course, I'm so ready for you. So we're going to be looking at pronunciation drills, vocabulary for professionals, harnessing your mother tongue. We're going to have different public speaking sessions. In fact, the last week is dedicated to you presenting on a topic you've prepared for. We're going to look at English grammar rules, and of course, you get a certificate after the training. I'll love you to send me a message about that. My number again is 0809 350 7355. I can't wait to see you in class. Okay, so I hope there's no more question. I'm trying to see. I don't want to miss any question at all. For those of us that will watch this video later, I say thank you very much for joining and watching in a belated fashion. But for those on this call right now, I want to say a million thanks to you for joining this call. I hope you learned something. On that note, I'll ask you, what did you learn and what will you do differently from today? We have 1 minute to do that as we close this webinar. So tell me what you will start doing differently from today. What you'll start doing differently from today. Let me start appreciating everyone that has joined the live. Is saying Tabitha, Ibidun, excellent insight, Abubakri, QMDCI Hospitality, thank you. Grace Ajitmobi, thank you. Benson, thank you. Excellent insight says, I will always be prepared. I will always be prepared. The Boy Scout rule, always be prepared. I like that. Fantastic. Good. I will always be prepared. I'm glad you're taking that as one of the things you start doing. Thank you so much. I'm waiting for more comments as we close today. So thank you all for being a part of my presentation tonight and part of tonight's webinar. I'm using 30 seconds to wait to be sure I'm taking all the comments. So don't forget, what I gave you as a take home is to write 2 different ways to begin your next presentation in your journal. Make sure you do it for yourself. All right, Benson is saying, starting a presentation with a statement of fact. Lovely, well done. Well done. All right, as we close tonight, I'm going to give you one thing that you should not forget at all. And I'm going to give you one word. That's my recency for you. One word that you should pronounce better in case you've been pronouncing this word incorrectly before today. Today is the day you receive your deliverance. And the word is INCUR. Sometimes people mispronounce this word as incur the depths. And some people even say depths. That's the story for another day. So it's not incur, it is incur the debts, incur financial losses, incur, not incur. When you say incur, you're adding E to this word. So remember, INCUR is incur. And that's the way I'm going to close this webinar tonight. Thank you all for being a part of tonight's webinar. I'll see you on another day with another topic. If you'd like me to discuss another topic, please put it in the chat room, put it in the comment section. I'll love to see the highest number of topics that you'd like me to discuss, and then it will be considered for another YouTube live. God bless you. Oludolapo Adewale is my name. I'll see you some other time. Bye. Thank you. QMDCI Hospitality. You said you would tell a story. Beautiful. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night rest.